on blue side, AL is going to have that first pick, and they say, no kill lane, no Draven. We're not bailing you out. We're not like Weibo. We're not going to let your best champion through when your back's up against the wall.
Damn, that's cutthroat. I am sad. Listen, Draven would have been fun. I still wish we'd gotten it when Shaoye and Jackie Love went up against each other because the storylines there are so fun. Nonetheless, the greediest lore-based AD carry will not hit the rift here for Shaoye. Jarvan, Seraphine, Orianna, yeah, like these champions have always been out of it, and we talked a little bit coming out of game 2. We're out of cover champions for Mr. Hope. We're out of champions where you can kind of leave Hope on his island, so it looks like we're finally going to start having to talk about those 2v2 lanes that have been the focal point of the meta. It's going to be Lucian Melio, the Lucian, of course, coming across first.
Lucian has been one of his better strong side AD carries throughout this split. Very clearly, we've seen 2 weak side performances from Hope where he's eventually been able to pop off in some team fights, but being able to set yourself up for a more dominant lane is very exciting. The Lulu locked in, very likely going to be Yunara Lulu coming in for LGD as the potential answer here. Still left up and available. I would be shocked if this is a misfortune, just in terms of the setup. I think that would be very confusing for me. Yunara feels like a very clean lock, and it gives a lot of tempo and momentum over to LGD to basically pick whatever they want on the top side of the map. But here I am, getting proven wrong. I'm going to say it right now. I really do not like this. I think MF Lulu is a very difficult lane to play into Lucian Melio, and we have a macro threat in the mid lane now. This misfortune is going to get pulled apart.
Oh, man. Is this the most anti-synergy bottom lane you could possibly cook up? Lulu MF, like, they just don't fit. They don't fit at all. It's like round hole square peg. Like, I can make 500 metaphors. I don't know what the call is to do this, but I can safely tell you this is the first time I've ever casted Misfortune Lulu as a 2v2 bottom lane. And at this point in my career, I've casted thousands of bottom lane matchups. I could never recollect seeing this before. Really head-scratching. They're going to grab the Wukong to finish out the first phase, but I'm already in love with the AL draft.
Certainly is much more cohesive with the way that you want to play the map. I will say, you are, and I don't really agree with this. Some people might claim this to be a slightly low damage comp with TF and Lucian. I don't agree with that idea. I think that there is a way to, potentially draft some beefier topside members and make this a little bit more difficult for them to play their fights in the late game, but their mid game priority is going to be off the charts here. And I would be so scared of multiple different junglers coming in here from AL that are still left up and available. You know what's still on the table that I'd actually be terrified of in this instance? Personally, Lee Sin. That would be the thing that I'm like, oh god, if I give Tarzan Lee Sin here, I'd be terrified. The Akali ban gonna come out. That's almost certainly a ban for Shanks, just kind of expecting this TF to potentially be flexed topside for Flandre. Maybe Flandre plays the Akali as well. You never really know. Could be a bit of a double flex there. But definitely curious to see these more aggressive topside bans coming out from both sides.
LeBlanc going to be... so they're fully expecting Flandre to take the TF top. Would be hilarious if AL try this gambit where they pick Aurora here, and then they think, all right, I want to see the full LGD draft, and then we'll decide who plays TF and who plays Aurora. I don't think that'll happen, but that's a very funny little gambit that only AL could really go for, knowing Flandre and Shanks' pools. Gnar and Vayne once again going to be a band away from Burdol. So AL expecting Burdol to get the counter pick on the B5 once again and just try to protect Flandre as best as they can.
I mean, they need a team fight Wombo, but they're going to pick Ahri in the mid lane instead for some mid-game pick potential.
All right.
Where does the MF fit in this comp? It does feel like you want to play for the early game. Man, I talked about the Lee Sin. I'm serious. This would be devastating in draft here if they went for it. K'Sante also available. Ornn available for tanks on the top side if you just want to play relatively safe. Play that TF in the mid lane. Both are options. You pick MF if you want the Wombo combo. Wukong engage makes a lot of sense to play for team fights to try to play around this bullet time, but now Ahri wants to go for some picks. I just feel like there's a lack of synergy with what LGD have drafted so far, and this K'Sante makes it even more difficult to find pressure in those side lanes. K'Sante shuts down so much of that tempo, basically forces LGD to pick something that can just be a little bit more dominant in the early game. Maybe Jace could be a potential option here for Burdol. He's been a big Jace player in the past. Could definitely see that as an answer, but whatever jungler comes in here for AL, I imagine it's going to be something that can really set the tempo.
Yeah, if this K'Sante doesn't get completely screwed over and this isn't a Gwen lock-in for Burdol, nobody's killing K'Sante. Take a bow, Mr. Kman. You called this one coming through. It does end up being the R5 Lee Sin. So fun that we're going to see Lee Sin with Tarzan at the helm. Well, this is the only way that you can reliably get rid of a scaled K'Sante. That was the point I wanted to make. Misfortune ain't cutting it. Ahri ain't cutting it. It'd have to be Gwen. Or we're just going to let Flandre become the unkillable K'Sante that Showmaker nearly took his camera out for.
Yeah, you know, there are a couple options that are being hovered. I don't like them nearly as much. The Renekton's going to get locked in. Renekton is a very different champion than I think what people kind of view him as right now, because he can be really effective on these flank angles in team fights, more so after a couple of the changes at the beginning of the year. That being said, what is the game plan here from LGD? How does this Misfortune fit into this comp at all? You really have no protection for her on the backline unless Lulu is just going to sit there. Renekton and Ahri are going to be looking for flanks to set up for a Wukong engage, but you're looking for a perfect team fight. This Lee Sin has so much agency in this draft. I am worried a bit about, I guess, the theoretical lack of damage coming in from AL in the late game, but if they get that early lead through that proactive tempo that they've so consistently been able to generate for themselves, they're not going to need that. That Lucian's going to be so out of control that you won't care. Kasante's going to be unkillable.
Yeah. There is also no, like, late game threat here, right? Like, both these teams have handshook the idea that we're going to try and win or die on the mid game at this point. This is one of those rare games where you said it best, Kman, the best scaling champion in this entire game is a Kasante. That doesn't normally happen. Like, it's not Misfortune, it's not Ahri, no Renekton, it's not Lucian, it's not TF, it's not Lee Sin, it's the Kasante. Interesting approach to the draft here for LGD, who are on their last legs for Split 2 here. If they drop this one, they bow out in a top 6 finish, which would be great, but nobody wants to get swept in a best of 5.
Nobody wants to get swept, and nobody wants to go out, you know, feeling dejected. It looked like they were a bit tilted at the end of game 2 with the way that things broke down, the lead that they had that they couldn't keep going. This is their chance to fight back. LGD have already overperformed and shocked the world so much by even being here in the first place. Can they shock the world by winning game 3?
AL fans staying as loud as they were in game 1 with our awesome Jaios, because they are feeling as confident as I'm sure Mr. Tarzan is, locking in the Lee Sin and looking to take over this early game. I'm curious what his path looks like. There's so many avenues. That's why Lee Sin is so fun. I feel like into a Wukong, he could even, you know, warrant potentially invading at some points. 3-camp ganks are always a custom with Lee Sin. Tarzan is definitely the guy you want to keep an eye on in this early phase, because there's not a lot of lanes that I feel like will have much action outside of those two.
I mean, we'll see how this bot lane wants to play out.
Maybe bot, yeah.
Honestly, MF Lulu, if there is an advantage to it, it's that you can pressure a ton in the first couple of levels. This is going to be a very scary duo to play a 2v2 against. Unfortunately, Lucian Milio, probably the strongest 2v2 in the game, so not exactly the bot lane you probably want to play it into, but the level 2 hit early here from LGD. Going to use this pressure as much as they can. Eventually, this will become a little bit more difficult for them, but you know, the idea behind it is probably going to use that Lulu poke to enable Misfortune to continue to push in, try to play around these dragons. I imagine that's going to be the main idea. The question is, will the pathing coming in from both of these junglers delay that or change it up in any way, or are we just going to see that bot lane be left alone?
Okay, so Tarzan resets off 3-camp to get a long sword, and he knows that Heng is now on his red buff. I think Tarzan is trying to angle to fight for this bottom crab and feel like he's the stronger one. Only problem is his bottom lane is getting pushed in, but looks like Tarzan will arrive at that bot crab maybe a bit behind Heng, but again, a bit stronger. So we'll see if our first little appearance for this Tarzan Lee Sin is imminent.
He's got to be really, really cautious, though, on the bottom side here because of this MF Lulu. The last thing you want to do is make a mistake this early into the game and put yourself behind. Both junglers are going to be level 4 approaching this crab, but if I'm Tarzan, we'll see how aggressive he wants to play this. Shanks is making his way down. They could be looking for this Wukong now.
Oh, there's the Legendng strike already through. Heng going to have to use the Trickster to get over the wall here. Tarzan ward hops to follow. Flash for flash. Tarzan wants Heng's number, and he's going to drop him. The longsword difference comes through, and our back-to-back player of the game claims first blood.
Really is a back dip.
Ward hop, Legendng strike. Ooh! Nice charm there for Tangyuan. Does have flash if he needs to. Another ward hop, gets the slow. Does he hit the Legendng strike? No, the Sonic Wave whiffs. But Tarzan has left an impression early on LGD as a whole.
Slayer, I was so vocal in draft. I was so vocal. Please, Please, LGD, don't do this. Don't give Tarzan Lee Sin, because he is going to destroy the game. That's exactly what he's doing. Polymorph coming through, but now that's on cooldown. Hope's going to step up and trade more aggressively. We've hit the level 3 spike. I don't know how much easier it gets here for LGD. This is the exact spot where Lucian Milio is going to get a lot stronger. Crab going down for Lee Sin, who's now invading onto the bottom side of the map as well. Tarzan is looking not just to take over this game early, but to punish this bot lane over and over again.
I think YCX has just pathed himself out of a disgusting 3v1. Kael is going to spot him, but good on him to walk further away. AL assumed that both bottom laners reset, but you've really focused so well on the CS gap with Hope. That is a full wave and then some that Shaoye just missed out on. Oh, the bullet rain actually cancels the back. Okay, that's pretty significant, actually.
Yeah, that actually does matter, at least a little bit for tempo here. Shaoye has not been in a great spot in terms of these laning phases in the first couple games of this series. Maybe the call was just to try and make sure this MF is as comfortable as possible in the 2v2. But what that does is open up the map here. Shanks isn't even level 6 yet. He doesn't even have his ultimate, and yet somehow he is dominating the shove and roam macro game. Already a really good look for the Twisted Fate in the mid lane here. The question now for me when it comes to LGD is what can they look for in the mid game? If you want to talk about their way back in here, Wukong Ahri is going to be one of the scarier pick duos that you can get. Ahri in general is going to be really good at being able to try and find avenues in this mid game to be able to, land a charm, pull some gold back, be able to find some skirmishes here or there. If you can get some gold into the middle of the map, things can get a little bit more difficult. You just have to be so scared now of an accelerated Lee Sin.
Good call, though, on those playmaking ultimates that you pointed out. Spirit Rush already up here. Heng should be able to get over to level 6 sooner rather than later. Don't think there's any crabs for him to be able to overcome that mark. As long as Flandre is just staying decently close in CS and scaling as a tank, he's doing fine on this weak side strategy. I think, we've seen Flandre go for a lot of things this split. He's played some Vayne, the TF top, but he's really been in his, I say modest bag, just playing these weak side tanks. The Scion was great, and I think the Cassante is even better set up here for Flandre, who across his career has been, he's had his ups and downs, Kman, but what I always respect the most about Flandre is that he just, one, really likes to learn the meta and the champions that come up in the top lane, plays them religiously in solo queue. That's what we saw with the Vayne. But two, he's willing to play so many different roles out of the top side. And today, it's been the weak side tank guy.
Well, let's not forget that last year as well, we're talking about what worked for AL in Split 2 of 2025. This guy was on tank duty every game. He was the best tank player in the world for large sections of last year. It's why AL felt so consistent in a lot of these team fights. And he's very much recognized that, yes, these counter picks can work in the right situation, but me playing weak side, absorbing that pressure, recognizing that I'm going to be better than most of the people I'm playing into in team fights anyways is, a huge asset for AL because they can put their resources elsewhere, and that's certainly been the case here today. The bot lane push now going in favor of anyone's Legendg. Lucian Milio moving forward with Dragon up on the map. That could mean that Lee Sin's going to show some attention to the bottom side very, very shortly. Shanks and Tangyuan level 7. That means these ultimates are available for the mid laner. Shanks going to have that push, so he's going to be able to walk down a little bit quicker, and I would imagine that Dragon priority because of that is going to go in favor of AL if they want it here.
Look at that. They have no eyes on Shanks, no idea where Tarzan is, and Shaoye and YCX have run all the way off of their bottom turret. They are venturing as a duo really far away here, and this could just drop even more CS here from Shaoye. They're finally going to walk back forward now that Heng is on the bot side to be able to kind of provide some alleviating the stress of the potential overload there, but that just means that AL are able to pick up the first strike of the game. The earliest we've seen any of our teams, well, mostly AL, pick up the first strike of the game here. So they're going to get the first strike down before 8 minutes and are on great pace for a future Dragon Soul as an option of a win con.
Yeah, the ping's coming down onto the grubs from LGD, but that is the main thing I'm concerned about here, is being able to take Dragon for free before grubs even spawn with a comp like TF, Lee Sin, Cassante on the top side that's going to at least be some sort of influence. You are going to get a little bit scared. That Bramble Vest completed now on the top side as well for Flandre, so he is actually a bit of a problem already in terms of being able to be taken down by this Renekton Wukong combo if they do want to go for a fight onto the top side. Hope going to get the back off, so not going to get stopped this time, but Heng going to start up on these grubs. Tarzan's still on the bottom side. It looks like he's okay trading this objective, and I'm certainly not going to argue with him with the game he's played so far, but certainly going to be at least a small win, a consolation prize for LGD.
Definitely the worst game another not good game, I think, for the Grubs combo. LGD are a mid-game team fighting spike team. They don't have really a ton of side lane pressure. Maybe Burdol can really, once again, LGD might be set up to play for this. Oh my god, they're doing it again, Kman, right as I'm talking about it. All right, we're going to overload to, I don't think you kill Flandre this game. He's playing Cassante, one of the worst champions you could dive. He has TP back, and they're going to try and overload with Grubs as 4, it looks like, to get this first turret, but this is just all for hope to get the real win here. Let's see, they need to at least get this kill. Oh,
yeah, Tarzan is here. This is not diveable. Flandre will not die if they go under tower.
And there's no wave. The wave's already gone too. Nice to see AL kind of adapting and learning, and yeah, thank you to our observers. Go bot side. This is what we like to call 80 carry heaven, folks.
I mean, yeah, it's 80 carry heaven for hope.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
not this guy.
Is this why you pick the MF? To rotate top lane and to try and take down a turret? I mean, at this point, like, why not pick Ziggs if this is going to be the mentality with how you're playing a lot of these laning phases? It just feels like LGD had a structure that worked for them in a couple of their scrims and are sticking to that a little bit too rigidly in these first couple of games. They're losing out in terms of pressure on the map. It's not exactly a massive win or anything like that for AL, but the last thing you want to do is allow this Lucian to start scaling again. You know, we talk about the quote-unquote low damage that AL has in the later part of the game. When you think about things that can rectify that, first off, TF is going to do some damage, and that Roa has already been completed, but Lucian can hurt if you give him free towers and free kills and a lot of gold. Like, that negates a lot of the lack of scaling that this team has, and so it's just really risky to try and make a trade like this for someone like MF.
And scaling doesn't really need to be a conversation if you just snowball this game out of control, and what can help with that is that first item spikes are super strong. Tarzan has an Eclipse already. There's no world where Heng could even think about 1v1ing him. S16 versus soon to be completed for Hope, another great first item power spike. And those two are the two for AL right now, holding on to the most significant gold leads. So Tarzan is going to just try and look and to create even more havoc. He's eyeing a mid lane gank. Flash Gold Card is going to force a Spirit Rush dash and Flash from Tangyuan. So Shanks was able to trade his Flash, get that ult off the board, and you best believe Tarzan's going to look to revisit this little category.
Incredibly worthwhile play for Tarzan to make. He shows up, immediately gets ult and flash out of the Ahri. Again, I cannot stress enough, LGD's biggest strength in the mid game here is their ability to find these picks through Wukong and Ahri. That's what you draft for. Bullet time's obviously going to be effective in these exchanges, but it's going to be so hard for you to find consistent setups against a team that can pull you apart macro-wise. That being said, they still are looking for that combo, but if you burn the flash, if you burn the ultimate on Tangyuan, if he can't actually play aggressive, if he's getting shoved in the mid lane, this Ahri is almost entirely negated in terms of what her actual strengths are of this comp. AL recognizing that well and making the point happen. Yeah?
Okay, man, what is my misfortune building? Oh my god.
Well.
Okay, man, I'm going to go down a little bit of a tangent here. My NACL casters, I don't know if Rafa's still out there listening. I had a bit of a mental breakdown in the old chat watching a Game 5 MF build. It was not even nearly as bad as this. I cannot believe that is a Serpent's Fang rush out of misfortune. I'm actually appalled, folks. I'm not appalled by that though. Holy Ward Hop Dragon's Rage kick. We thought he was going to revisit the Ahri. No Spirit Rush, no Flash, and Tarzan's got another.
I'm sorry, Slayer. We might be getting 24 out of 24 of these votes. This Lee Sin is popping off in this game. I'm still trying to mentally process Serpent's Fang misfortune on the bottom side of the map here, but you know, that'll be saved for another instance. Shanks is using his ult on the bottom side. We might be worrying about this MF a little bit sooner than we thought. This wave is going to get pushed in. I was curious if they were going to die, but Wukong might be the target in the mid lane as well. It's just going to be Dragon. Perfectly fine to take the objective. Who cares about these, you know, picks that we're looking for? We're going to get free picks. We're going to capitalize on the burn flashes, and we're going to get the objective because of it. As the TP comes down in the mid lane, Ahri still has no flash.
All right. Going to jump on with the Cyclone on top of Shanks. He doesn't have flash either. And the Spirit Rush back up for Tangyuan. Going to hit the charm, force the Breath of Life. Hope is able to get himself out. There's that pick potential LGD drafted for, and they're able to get AL off of that Mountain Drake. Tarzan's strong, but are AL feeling this brass to try and force their way back in to play for the Dragon stacking? LGD are out of a lot of their critical ultimates. Dragon not low enough. Sonic Wave going to connect. Immediate Wild Growth comes out into YCX. Hope going to drop the Coaling. YCX using the Dragon as a protection. The TP from Flandre coming through here. Burdol does not interrupt. All of a sudden now, AL feeling a lot stronger. YCX double tap down, and a flash out of the pit from Shaoye. AL are just that strong, and they're able to get the second Drake of the game.
Even with a pick onto Shanks because he overextends looking for the flashless Ahri in the mid lane, they still don't have the combat power to be able to win in the mid game. You drafted Wukong Ahri, and you can't win a mid game fight around Dragon. This is a nightmare situation for LGD. I get the gold lead's not ballooned entirely out of control, but these are free extra stats. It's going to be Chemsoul this game for AL as well. This is going to be such a difficult game for them to be able to find their way back in. And again, I know I apologized earlier for this, but Slayer, we really are looking at a Tarzan masterclass. This Lee Sin was a mistake to give over, and I think we very much are on our way to potentially seeing 3 straight MVPs for a player that we needed to see step up today. Let's not forget, we had major questions about this team's mid-game macro. Look at the way that they're playing the map right now. It's everything we could have wanted.
Hey, listen, I had to go to bat for my Ezreal. I'll always have to go to bat for my great Ezreal performances, but the one thing that I will always hold true, it's never a bad thing when Lee Sin is in the meta, because it is one of the most fun champions to watch the best of the best navigate on. And like you mentioned, Tarzan is putting together an absolute delectable treat as he tries to go for the rare 24 out of 24 player of the game award, and he is cruising towards that. I think he's on pace. What an accomplishment that would be. What just a general bounce back this was for AL. It's really easy to just write this series off and be like, oh yeah, this was a group Nirvana team. This is LGD. This is expected. But you have to factor in momentum. You got to factor in the stakes for a team like AL to be in the lower bracket. After that, decimation for WE, this is a really resounding bounce back for the Pandas.
I completely agree. AL has looked fantastic so far. I will say, we are talking them up. This game isn't over quite yet. LGD definitely have some ways back in. When you draft the MF, you draft for the combo, right? You draft for this bullet time to eventually make a big impact. And for as much as we talk about them not having a ton of synergy within their comp, you land a Cyclone, maybe even a Wild Growth knockup onto some primary members here in a team fight. You get a couple of seconds of that bullet time off. That could be enough to allow the Renekton and the Ahri to be able to play out some of these exchanges a little easier. Right now, unfortunately, that bullet time just used to clear the wave. Luckily enough, they're going to keep that turret alive, but you got to use those big cooldowns just defensively at this point. You're in a very scary spot.
I think that's a good play from Shaoye. You look at the objective timers right now. Chemtech Drake is still about 2.5 minutes out. Nobody's going to really dance with Baron with such a low gold lead, so bullet time should be back and available before Shaoye is really going to have to use that to bring the hurt and shred some shields.
He's going to have to shred those shields. He certainly invested into it.
That he did.
He's definitely saying that that's his job this game, and will be, along for the ride. I do get a little concerned about the way that these mid-game skirmishes go if you don't have a river priority, but with 2 minutes left until this dragon spawns, this third dragon of the game, it will be soul point for AL. LGD are going to drop that Rift Herald that they were able to get. See if they can get some gold off this.
Crashed into mid-tier 1. They have brought all 5 members here, Burdol as well, but the minion wave is gone. Pulling down from home to do some light poke. Forces the polymorph out of YCX. Here's Flandre arriving to the party. Burdol gonna have to worry about a Natofo Strikes pullback, but he's able to dash out of that range. AL able to keep their mid-tier 1 turret up. Just some plates gain there for LGD.
I mean, it's gold, and gold, I guess, is important. Unfortunately, where you look at where the gold is on AL, obviously TF has a gold lead. Shocker. That's going to happen in a game like this, but 600 gold up on Tarzan. He's hitting level 12. He's getting closer to that second item spike. If he can get that before this dragon spawns, that's a huge game changer. It basically makes it completely unfightable for LGD if they wanted to go for that play. More importantly, I'm looking at, the bot lane being a big problem. This is the power spike for Hope. He has hit that 2 item, big spike, and especially with Shaoye building, Serpent's Fang into potentially LDR, second item here on the other side. This is going to be a very big Lucian, and I'm not sure the MF is going to have the power to be able to answer.
There's definitely a very vast difference in power dynamic going on. That's all I'm going to say. IE, once the IE does come through, Hope is going to be very, very scary into a team that is just not tanky enough to deal with a Lucian with the constant protection of this Emilio. Tangyuan is committing to a very deep little flank setup. Flandre just saw that plank get used. He's going to use the blast cone to actually go over Tangyuan. And then Heng is going to use another enhanced blast cone to leave. And my mid laner is yet to move. He is really investing in this covert operation.
Secret agent Tangyuan. He's absolutely made his way behind enemy lines. They have no clue.
All right, let's see if he can find a clutch charm. He needs to look for, hope to find that, but I don't think his flank's going to manifest because Flandre's going to push tempo. There's Tangyuan finally going to go after Hope. He's going to flash, get the Breath of Light, desperately trying to kite away from Heng and Tangyuan, but the Melio healing is enough to buy him time to make sure he trades 1-for-1 as Flandre goes all out and gets Shanks the double kill, and off to the bot side, Tarzan kills off a little Lulu. YCX down, and now the flank setup, the covert operation has been exposed for Tangyuan, and his solo lane partner in Toad is trying to desperately run away, but they've run out of space. They're caught between the two giant pillars of AL's turrets, and they have routed this flank, they have routed this fight, they have routed this game. Ace, anyone's legend.
LGD look for the thing that their comp is set to do. Flank angles onto the Lucian. Even with finding it, they just don't have the damage. Everybody's way too separated. Again, this is why we get so concerned about the draft coming in, because this Wukong, this Ahri, this Renekton, they want to find the flank angles on these fights, and while they find them, that's all well and good. Shaoye doesn't get set up to be able to do anything off of that. Flandre does a great job of being able to zone him away from this fight. So much for your Serpent's Fang and your LDR. The Cassante is running you down anyways. Who cares? As Shaoye gets absolutely bursted, Tarzan's on a side quest to take down the support. And again, even though you have that good flank, you just don't really have the follow-through because Tangyuan, Shaoye, like, they're all going to be on different pages in these exchanges. AL can easily run down the rest of LGD, and if there was a fight that might have sealed the entire game, that might have been it.
In a game so reliant on the mid game and a snowball for both of our comps, this did feel like a potential nail in the coffin scenario. AL now break open that gold lead to about 3.5 thousand. They're also on Chemtech Soul Point, which they will have access to at about the 25-minute mark. Don't need to do much more but wait for that mark unless they want to get a little frisky and start testing their damage output. That's a culling onto YCX from Hope, but not much more to be found there. It's just going to be a bit of waiting here for AL and maybe trying to see how desperate LGD want to get to try and close this gold gap.
I do want to say, we were talking about this a bit in game number 1, and we talked about the head-to-head. Tangyuan's actually been pretty good in this series, but this is Shanks' game where he's stepped up. I understand some of that gold lead is a bit fictitious because it is, of course, a Twisted Fate, but his roams, his ability to find priority targets with gold cards, and his positioning generally in these fights with the, of course, pick onto Ahri as the main exception have been really, really solid. He's in a really good spot now to be actually a pretty big threat in the later part of the game. I think people very much misrepresent what TF is and say that he does no damage. Nobody who's ever played against a Fed TF believes he does no damage. That I can promise you. That champion will be hurting in the later part of this game, and for somebody who I think started the series a little slow, he's going to make an impact now.
Destiny met with an immediate charm. Has rapid fire cannon, by the way, too. So he's 3 items deep. These yellow cards are going to be coming from halfway across your screen. Didn't have to use any ults or flashes to get away from that pick play from Shanks. So a low-value Destiny as he lands another yellow card and shows off exactly what Kman's talking about. That's hung down to about half HP. Resonating Strike lands here from Tarzan. Another yellow card down. Another Sonic Wave, just rinse and repeat, bullying LGD out of their own jungle. Tarzan will finally go through with Resonating Strike. It's another combo. Just on to Burdol, the tankiest member, but they have shoved LGD all the way back to their mid-tier 2.
I mean, it's 22 minutes into the game, and it feels like the map has just fallen apart completely for LGD. We said they lost one fight, and they really don't have any sort of tempo. I want you to look at your mini-map, and I want you to try and spot where the blue wards are. If you don't see anywhere, anywhere, especially near the half-point line, that's a problem. Blue Trinket dropped on the Baron. That's about as much as they got right about now, so that's a bit of a problem for LGD. I can't stress enough how important vision is when you're behind, and controlling it has been AL's specialty. LGD are walking blind into what could be a game-losing fight for them.
Their last tier 1 turret will fall to minions. Shanks is letting the mostly forgotten aspects of their team take care of that one. Top lane tier 1 down. Baron is up if they want to try and tease a take there to bring LGD into them. But again, I just think AL are playing for that dragon timer. They're below 2 minutes. They're getting their resets through to see if they get any decent item breaks. That's a big jump for BF Sword onto Hope. But they're just going to play that sort of press up style again, Kman, rinse and repeat. See if LGD get desperate, and then Chemtech Soul is where we really decide this game and potentially finish off the series for anyone's Legend.
Definitely is looking that way. It's looking like it's going to be a pretty clean end here from AL, so long as they can set up around these objectives. Again, we'll see if they want to pressure out this Baron. I wouldn't expect them to. Chemsoul is just such a free objective for them to take. In about a minute, it forces LGD to walk into them, and they obviously have so many different disengage tools and ways to flank. But they're a greedy team. They might want a little bit more as they continue to dance. I think they understand that there are wards in this area. There's the one ward gone. Unfortunately, the one piece of vision that LGD might have had has been taken away. At this point, they can make their way down with that 5k gold lead, though. Just continue to walk up.
All right, Destiny to spot all members as LGD have taken up space towards the bot side of the river. AL need to work their way back through. Let's see exactly how strong they really are. Destiny vision going to come down. There's rapid fired up yellow card. It's going to hit Heng. Decent little chip damage. Hope also expends the culling. AL are going to play for the mid wave first, and man, just allow this low-key Shanks damage that's becoming high-key by the second to chunk away LGD members. Shaoye is already about a third out of HP, and Flandre's flashing after him. Shaoye already has spent the flash. Y6 Wild Growth flash. All of these disengage tools are coming off the board as Heng will drop. Tarzan further hunting. Ward hops forward. There's a Sonic Wave Resonating Strike. Down goes Shaoye. And AL have gotten the picks they need to secure a Chemtech Soul at 25 minutes.
There's just no escape from this Anyone's Legend team, and this draft, they have been absolutely dynamic with the way that they've played these picks throughout the entire game, and it continues to grow their lead. I don't mean to rub salt in the wound, but LDR and Serpent's Fang into flashing away from the K'Sante is maybe not how you play the MF in this particular game. It just seems to not be effective. This draft already set themselves up for a very difficult situation. This bullet time basically never allowed to be channeled in any team fight, and unfortunately that's been exactly what we've seen. The flashes coming down onto the MF and the fights being gone in an instant.
Kman, we already felt like the K'Sante was really good this game because nobody could kill him, and I know it's obvious because they're up so much gold, but a K'Sante with Chemtech Soul, wow. Flandre is actually unkillable. They're onto the Baron.
Yeah, and they get it. Like there's not much you can do here. This is free. Heng's gonna be in the area. He's gonna try and get that push onto the bottom side. They want to try and trade for some turret, but with Baron going down with that soul, if you thought the combat was scary before, I mean, this is a team that is not only better at being able to play a lot of these picks and not only better at playing these side lanes, but they're probably better in the 5v5s as well because of their consistent setup and the rapid fire cannon coming in from the TF. It's level 16 versus level 13 in the mid lane. We could talk about the 4k gold deficit, but so much of that has been because Shanks has constantly been in the right spots on the map, and it's going to result in them being able to push top lane down for free as Tangyuan just trades a consolidation tower on the bottom side.
The assault onto the base imminent. Another long-distance yellow card pushes Burdol away from the turret. Baron up cannon minions, whacking onto the turret as well. Flandre's going to bring up a mid-wave, so the 4-1 in full effect here, and it's going to stretch LGD pretty thin. Will be able to protect their base for now, but there are more waves to come. This Baron power play is far from over.
Far from over. We saw what the 4-1 could do in the previous games. They're looking for another.
There we go. They're going for the stabbing gauge. That's a really good bullet time. Finally, the Cyclone bullet time paired together just like strawberries and chocolate. And Shanks is going to have a lot of time to think about that as he is into the fountain. There's a good shutdown. A little bit of light at the end of the tunnel there for LGD.
Okay, there is the pick that you're looking for, especially on the TF. That's really important because you do need to make sure you get one of those CC targets to prevent a counter engage. That's ideal. You probably need about 6 more of those engages in order to make this happen. Again, my biggest concern now is you can only do that once per fight. You better get a lot of value off of it, and while they were able to get that, there's no objective up to take at this point. They're just trying to delay. Hope is going to continue to push down onto the bottom side. Tarzan's going to be here to shadow him as well. If they're going to continue this push, even with Shanks dead, they can actually keep this going. Remember, Shanks is going to be able to get a lot of different places around the map with that Destiny if he wants.
He'll be back on the Rift right now. Tangyuan is going for a top lane push of his own to get that wave as far away from the base, but the 4-1 has shifted towards the bot side. Flandre holding the mid wave cleanly. And Shanks is close enough for Destiny's gates to bring him into any sort of fight here. Hope with all the protections in the world going to start chipping away at more plates. Here's the Destiny Pop vision onto all LGD members. Shanks daring anyone to section themselves out, single themselves out, but they'll just keep on chipping away at these LGD turrets.
I mean, it's clinical. It's exactly what you want to see. I will say, a 0 gold graph on the Baron so far. 30 seconds remaining. They might have some time to be able to pull that back, but the death, obviously the shutdown on Shanks was relatively important. We'll see if AL says, we don't care about the gold, we want the Nexus, because they're continuing to push on the bottom side. Tarzan, if he can land 1 Q, will be able to take this fight. LGD showing some patience for the first time this series, though. I might have caster cursed them.
Tarzan, all I'm saying, man, oh, hold on. There's another snap engage from Heng, but this time Kael has the peel to get himself back to safety. Yellow card going to land there onto Burdol. Colin going to come out. He's going to hold on to this Dominus, but the turret drops. Sonic Wave is Tarzan feeling frisky. Nope, not going to take that resonating strike. Tangyuan, though, out of Spirit Rush charges, lands a frail charm onto Tarzan. And AL will move without the Baron power play to look for more turrets. They've got Elder in under 2 minutes if they like to play for that final killer blow, but they're not looking to slow down anytime soon. Burdol, Dominus Pop, trying to contend with Flandre, but he's just too darn tanky.
I mean, AL continuing to pressure out. I think they recognize Heng used Cyclone on the Wukong. That's the most important ability in the game. If they don't have Cyclone, they have no engage. They have no way to actually be able to start this fight, especially if they're getting pushed into their own base. AL recognized this is a timer where, even though it shouldn't feel like they can push in, they have such a big resource advantage that they're going to continue to push further and further along. Again, Elder in just over a minute here. AL don't even really need to worry too much about a reset if they just keep forcing LGD into bad spots. I mean, it's going to be harder for them to find opportunities, and Heng might have overextended.
Oh, the Blast Cone comes through before the Dragon's Rage kick, but Tarzan gets it back up, kicks Heng into the wall. Wild Growth comes out to try and keep Heng topped off, heal everything from YCX, but the kitchen sink to keep him safe, and Heng will survive. Tangyuan going to land a charm that brings Hope into the bullet time. Does have to dash back out to safety. Another stun lands here from Shanks. Tarzan really thought about going for that resonating strike, but he won't. LGD able to keep everyone alive. AL forced to reset for an Elder that's 30 seconds away.
That might be the greed that we were thinking of. That might have been a little bit ambitious. I really thought they were going to be able to kill Heng a little faster there on the collapse there with the Tarzan's Lee Sin and Shanks obviously being relatively fed, but he does a good job being able to use his resources to escape. He does have Cyclone up for this potential Elder fight, which is, again, the most important ability in the game. It's the only way for LGD to win these fights, but Flandre zoning the entire team off right now, and they're using it just for the Cassante.
Hey guys, his CP shield isn't even down yet. Finally, it's now down as the Heng engaged with a Cyclone. Does force Tarzan to flash. Flandre pretty low as well. Flash forward from Burdol. Does get the slice and dice through the polymorph. Flandre is down, but AL say to the hell with Elder. They want to end the series now.
Yeah, they were baiting in the entire time. They were trying to open up the base.
I don't know about
the minion wave's not there. They're going to be able to recall. I mean, they're going to be able to move their way over to Elder, but you basically just lost Flandre for nothing. Heng's going to stay in the area. A bit of a macro mistake there from AL, giving over quite a lot for basically nothing in return. It is some resources used from the side of LGD, but they're going to have at least a couple of these ultimates back up if they want to try and take this Elder flip, and they are missing their big tank on the top side for 30 more seconds.
It's definitely going to be hard to get Shaoye a lot of usage out of this bullet time. Without that Cyclone, still about halfway away from its charge coming back up. LGD, though, know that Elder is their only lifeline. I like it. They're desperate. They have to go for it. They have the man advantage for now. Flandre already TP'd bot side, but they're just really afraid of where Tarzan is at, where all of AL are. Tarzan going to contend with the Elder on his own. Hope nearby as well. TP on the back side of the pit here. Burdol with a big shield. He's got the GA. He's popping the Dominus. Somehow AL have found themselves into a really precarious flip here. Tarzan, does he win the smite fight? No, it's Shaoye that gets the Elder, and now Tarzan's 1 versus 5. Gets dropped. Burdol able to push away another AL member. Hope on the back line does not kill Tangyuan. The charm with the bellows breath from Elder gets a huge shutdown. AL have completely thrown their lead away.
There was one way back into this game for LGD, and they have found it. They win the Elder Flip 4v5, recognizing that K'Sante can't make his way back in time. You're right, that TP was used onto the bottom side, and LGD take full advantage of it. AL with a massive macro mistake that is being punished to the point where they have completely lost their gold lead. LGD not only have the Elder Dragon available for just under a minute, or just under 2 minutes more, but they're starting to get into a scary spot. We get a replay of how this happens. K'Sante is not here. AL are so aggressive in terms of their positioning. This is a straight-up flip between Tarzan and Heng. Somehow, someway, it's actually the misfortune. It's Shaoye who ends up making up for some of his early series mistakes by securing the biggest objective in this entire game. And now we're at a point where there's enough damage on LGD to get some of these executes. Now, for a minute 20, that Elder is available. They're going to make their way up to Baron, and this is the time to take it. This is their way back into the game.
Shaoye has one of the wackiest MF builds I've ever seen, but he is now up to full crit with the Phantom Dancer completed. With Elder still in their control, there's no world AL can ever stop this Baron. A minute's time where LGD are going to have Elder and Baron, usually the death sentence of a game, that AL now have to contend with. Oh my god, the bullet time. Why not? Oh, can Tangyuan get close enough for the Elder reset? No. Shanks is able to survive. That's a huge minion wave. I think LGD might try and ride this through to end the game here.
I think they recognize without these buffs, they're going to be a lot weaker. They're trying to end now. Is this an overextension, though?
Look at all these minions. They're finally getting dissipated here. Another wave's coming up behind. AL have to all out stall, but the Grub's providing enough safety for another wave to come up here. Elder is slowly ticking down. AL are going to spring the trap once they know the Elder comes offline, and LGD have known that they've run out of time. Destiny down. Does Shanks commit to the flank here? No. They're just going to let Elder dissipate and go towards the mid lane.
I mean, the base is broken open. Shanks is looking to try and catch the wave, but everything is back in time. This bot lane inhibitor tower might just fall to the minion wave that had been crashing into it, but I mean, how can I think of anything other than LGD completely taking control of this game? Look at the gold lead now for Shaoye. I still think it can be a little bit difficult for him to play consistently in these team fights. AL is not out of this by any stretch, but if LGD wanted an avenue back into this game, they have found it. Minute 30 still left on this Baron buff. They have so many stats under them at this point. I don't think you can really wait for some of these fights. I really want to see more aggressive gameplay come in from LGD. They are doing a really good job of setting up around this bot side. They need to keep it going.
Where will AL really try and make the stand? At this point in the game, a mid-tier 2 turret isn't all that inherently valuable. It's just full defense mode from AL. You called it, Kman. They're waiting for all these buffs to come off of LGD and then try and flip this game back into their favor. Chemtech Soul is still insanely valuable in these late fights. Just when does AL decide they really want to scrap once more? Is it going to be their captain Tarzan out of the jungle that looks for it? Flandre already down to about half HP. Another minion wave is gone. They've got one more with the Baron.
Yeah, he has made his way out. He's not going to look for the flank. That's going to be the tower going down. LGD going to utilize this Baron for 30 more seconds to try and get this inhibitor. I don't think they have the push, but they're certainly going to try and get it.
Shaoye going to take a decent chunk there from Hope, who still has a lot of damage with the range, extra range Melio gives him. Bot side, the last Baron wave. This is the last one they'll get in the mid lane, but Tarzan and Flandre cut down the bot lane one. And this is the Baron going away. Do we see AL try and spring the trap now? LGD are a bit sectioned off away from each other, but they don't feel comfortable doing it. Their base is still broken into. The super minions pouring in. We are going to play for a second Elder in a game that we thought was all but over.
Importantly, though, a second Elder with the base broken open for LGD with supers pushing in onto the top side. It's going to take a ton of tempo for AL to be able to push out that top wave to the point where they can contest this Elder consistently. And notably, the mid lane inhibitor has respawned for LGD at this point. And so they absolutely have a wave control advantage in this instance to be able to set up around this Elder. This is the game. Whoever wins this fight, whoever gets this objective, they will win everything. There are plenty of ways for LGD to play off that combo. This bullet time is going to make or break everything. If AL can stay away from it affecting too many members, they can still win this fight with the comp that they have, but LGD have the tools and they have the gold to be able to take this one to AL and make the comeback very real.
Such a tough spot for LGD. They were such a scary threat those last couple of minutes, but they still need to recognize they are into a Chemtech Soul team. The gold is close enough that they need to make the plays, but Tangyuan and Heng have found Tarzan. He immediately goes into the G8. You can eat a yellow card as the Coley comes down on the Heng. The Wild Growth won't save him. Tarzan is able to dash back out to safety, and without Heng, LGD don't have a shot in the world at Elder, but AL don't care about Elder. They've got Shanks flanking with the yellow card. Burdol tries to go after Hope. The bullet time won't find its mark because Shanks stuns and kills off Shaoye. Burdol gonna drop into the GA, and all of LGD are scattered towards the wind. Tarzan might have been picked off. The GA to rescue him. AL mess around and nearly throw away game 3, but they are going to accomplish their goal, bring out the brooms, and sweep LGD out of the playoffs.
One heart attack later, and AL is pushing down the mid lane. Tarzan baits everybody with the Guardian Angel on his side. The true king of the jungle shows up once again, and AL are happy to take the fight to LGD. It may have been close, but close doesn't count. AL are going to charge down the base.
Ooh, it was a scary prospect for the last couple of minutes, but it is nonetheless an AL 3-0 sweep. They move on in the lower bracket.
Oh. My heart, Slayer, it's a pounding right now.
I was not prepared for that. Usually we're like prepared for it, right? Like we see it coming, like it's a close game. That was usually we're used to the heart rates going up. We're not. The level that we jumped is my problem. Like I was chilling, and then we're just at like 150. All right.
I mean, the GA obviously is massive. My question is, what happened with the Wukong in that fight? Like, why are we're obviously extending for Tarzan. I think that itself, like burning the GA is great. After that, just overextending into the jungle, going right back in, and then not having any sort of reset. Oh, we got a little bit of a Shanks on the trophy. Just a little bit of.
Listen, we're both pretty sports pilled, Kman. Oh, yeah, right. I forgot. Thank you, producer. I was about to say, there's a lot of superstitions around touching certain trophies before you've won anything, but I forgot. I believe that was, he took the captain token from Shaoye and then put it into the trophy. I think that's how that works. That was something they did last year as well.
Of course. You know, a symbol of the teams that they have conquered on their way to victory here. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that the series went the way that it did. We got a glimpse of hope for a couple of seconds. Well, we got quite a few glimpses of many different versions of hope in this series. The good and the bad, I would say, in a couple of these team fights. But at the end of the day, AL's execution was a little bit more clinical. I think the draft in Game 3 was tough. I think you always needed that bullet time to land in a perfect situation. They got it in a big fight. The MF getting Elder Dragon is massive, and then eventually, obviously, you hit a point where you just have to try and get it again, and they couldn't. The Wukong and the MF were a bit desynced with their engages, and it cost the entire game.
That is... It's just so funny to me, like, the closest this series got was right at the end, it felt like, unfortunately, with that game. Oh, man. Well, LGD, you had a very happy moment. Here's the thing. We didn't necessarily get a touch on it because the game went pure chaos mode towards the end. But for LGD here, Kman, I really hope they hold their heads high. Listen, it sucks to get swept. It sucks to get really outmatched in an entire series. But I just don't. These players did not think. It was a dream that they could get to Group Ascend at the start of this split. It was a dream that they could be a top 6 team in the LPL. They've accomplished so much, and their biggest prize, again, I still say, wasn't making playoffs to me. It's that they have now earned the right to play Premier LPL for the biggest split of the year next year. It is going to do wondrous things for some of these players. We may look back years down the line, Kman, on some, bona fide superstars, not just with LGD, but these other teams that have made it to Group Ascend because they were able to get into that highest level and kickstart their careers into being future legends of the LPL.
I want to make it clear, like, LGD lose here today because AL randomly drop a series to WE when they're not supposed to and they have to run into them in lower bracket. LGD is guaranteed top 5th, 6th. Like, they're a top 6 team, placement-wise. Like, and I know that this is a little too far out into the future, but you're absolutely right. Like, LGD are going to be in Ascend going into the next split. They're going to have the ability to continue to grow. they get 15 championship points from this. And maybe I'm too early in the year to be thinking about championship points. How fun would it be to see an LGD team in you know, the regional qualifier? Like, to have a chance to be able to go to... Like, that's the kind of run that they made. They beat Thunder Talk to get here. They beat, you know, a very, very good Weibo Gaming team to get here as well. And this is what they get. They get top 5. They get top 6. They get championship points. They get to show that they are a team that can compete. And again, this is hopefully the weakest version of LGD that we're going to see all year long. The hope is that they continue to get better game over game now that they get the hyperbolic time chamber that is Group Ascent.
And not to take away, because LGD is the one in this series, but I again just want to branch this out to a bigger conversation, because we've now lost all of our former Nirvana teams, right, at this point. EDG, LGD, and Thunder Talk are now all out. All of those guys are in the same position to LGD now. Maybe not with the championship points that, you know, you gave me some flashbacks to. It's a little too early for that, Kman, for sure. But all of those teams, all the 15 of those players are now going to get a shot to enter that hyper chamber, and that's going to be such a fun thing to look forward to in Split 3. Now, honing back into this series, I hate to say Tarzan will not be a 24 out of 24 unanimous player of the game vote. Maybe he wins player of the game here. The KDA once again goes brazy, but this game got a little bit away from both Tarzan and AL towards the end of it. If Tarzan doesn't have a GA, by the way, they lose the game. They lose the game on that pick that Heng finds.
And if Heng does have a GA, they win the game. Like,
true.
Straight up. Like, that was the whole difference, is that the Wukong goes in and goes all in on the Lee Sin, pops the GA, and he himself does not have the Guardian Angel to be able to make that trade worth it. So, unfortunately, that just kind of ends up being the big difference there. That's the wallet diff, and just wasn't meant to be. Tarzan, I think, still has a good case for player of the game, if only just because I think he was such a big reason why they were so good in the early game and why this game got out of control so fast, as we see from this level 4 fight that instantly wins them the early game and makes this much more difficult to play out from that point onwards. But you're right. I mean, there were mistakes in the mid game here. Him overextending and basically leaving his top laner out to dry, although, you know, Flandre's TP onto the bot side and dying right before the dragon fight was already bad enough as it was. You know, those were mistakes. I think Shanks would be your other candidate in this game on the Twisted Fate. Thought he had a pretty good game. Did make a mistake pretty early on in the game to try and pick out Tangyuan and get caught, but they won the 4v4 after that anyways, so how much did it really end up mattering? Either way, overall, just a good series from AL. For the most part, I would say 90 to 95% of the series was them dominating, and I think that's enough for me to feel good.
And regardless, Tarzan is the player of the series, and now, in this form, it's going to make whoever they see in that next round, lower round 3, I believe we're up to at this point.
Yeah.
A very fun matchup. He will be going against either Junja or Shun. So for me personally, if we go back to all pro votes, those are 2 all pro junglers for me. It's going to be a fun one. Okay, man, I'm curious, you know, looking forward to that regardless of the opponent. How much more inspired confidence-wise are you about AL in that matchup off of this series now, off of how they look today?
I think it's a little 50-50 on like whether I feel better about them or whether I feel the same. I don't feel worse for sure, but
no.
I think there are a lot of things to feel encouraged about in the sense that they found their identity in games 1 and 2, and they executed on that identity really effectively, right? Especially in game number 1, they knew exactly what they wanted to draft. They went back to comfort, and it really worked out for them. That gives me confidence that they understand what they want to be moving forward and the kind of, you know, team and play style that they want to go towards moving forward. The worry is that I still am concerned about them off of those picks, and especially if you're going to be playing some of these top-tier teams, you're not just going to be getting 3 games against JDG or BLG. Like, they're going to get at least one of them, right? Like, you would imagine that you're going to have to have a bag that you can go into in Game 4, in Game 5, and I don't know if I'm sold that that's a team that's going to be able to do what they want to do in games 4 and 5 just yet, but they showed in this series that in games 1, games 2, when they get the comps that they like, they still are just as effective as they were, you know, when they were the number 1 seed going into playoffs and split number 1.
Yeah, I am maybe a little bit more confident, mainly because for me in this series, like some of the weakest things that we were most worried about with AL were really improved today. Hope being one of them. Hope plays a pretty phenomenal series. He does get his 2 comfort champions, but he was pretty good today. Most importantly, I'm glad that we saw Kael not get put on Seraphine today. Didn't play Nami. Yes, puts the Melio bag in the game 3, but gets to play Bard. Like, the Bard game was super fun, gets really unlocked to pair with Tarzan. Again, that's the bread and butter of AL, so I hope that continues over. I hope Big Way continues that game plan over up against the BLG, up against the JDG, because that sort of style has been the way that they have taken down both of those teams, historically looking back towards last year. We'll have to see. Of course, we still need to see the opponent that AL will face off against. Our matchup tomorrow is just such a heater. Our two first stand representatives in the lower bracket, BLG, JDG, one of them goes home. One of them does not make it to back-to-back internationals. The other one gets a chance to make it to the next one. It's a long road forward in this lower bracket. It's going to be a fun one nonetheless here. Closing up shop on our broadcast, another sweep from us up against an LGD, up against somebody here, Kman, but we always have to end the broadcast shouting out some important people. So I would like to give a very specific thank you to our two Elite Coffee supporters, that being Aaron Soup and Mong. Their pledged financial contributions help level up the broadcast and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an English LPL product every single day. Huge shout out to Aaron Soup and Mong. Also, though, a shout out to all you that have been sticking with us across today, across all of the LPL Split 2. It has been awesome, and the matchups will only get better and better. K-Man, final thoughts, my friend, before we close this thing off?
Final thoughts. One of BLG or JDG will be equal in terms of placement to LGD Gaming by the end of this split.
I thought you were just going to say the same thing I said, and then, yeah, that's true. That'll be a fun, someday maybe we'll get a trivia question based on that, K-Man. What former Group Nirvana team tied AL and PLG or JDG off of the record? That's a fun one. K-Man, it's always a pleasure to rock the Slayman Rocks with you, my friend. I don't think this is the we'll see. Maybe we'll show up on your guys' streams of some of these later series. Who knows? But definitely we'll see Ice Fire Eyed behind the sticks on production. Awesome working with you again, my friend. That'll close it out. Make sure to be back here same time as you had today. PLG JDG. You don't want to miss it. We'll see you guys there.